Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a foundational algebra concept that honestly trips up so many people, the distributive property. We're going to take those confusing brackets and turn them into something that's literally a breeze to solve. Let's get into it. Take a look at this. 3, open bracket, x plus 4, closed bracket. Have you ever been tempted to just multiply that outside 3 by the x, get 3x, and completely ignore the 4? I mean, don't worry if you have. It's actually one of the most incredibly common mistakes in all of algebra. But as we'll see today, doing that is completely mathematically illegal. To properly open those brackets and unleash the values inside, we have to share the wealth evenly. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we've got the house metaphor, then the golden rule. Next, we'll cover the 4 steps, run through some practice examples, and finally, look at some common traps. All right, section 1, the house metaphor. Before we get too bogged down in the variables and the numbers, let's paint a mental picture. Abstract math symbols can be kind of tough to memorize, right? But our brains are practically hardwired for stories. By definition, the distributive property is a mathematical rule where an outside value is multiplied equally across all terms inside a bracket. It's basically your magic key. With it, you can confidently pry open those brackets, distribute the value, and completely unravel even the most intimidating equations. So here is our core metaphor, and it's pretty simple. The bracket is like a house, and everyone inside must receive their share of the multiplication. Just imagine you're throwing a massive party at your house, which in this case is the bracket. A super generous guest, our outside number, arrives at the front door. Now, it would be incredibly rude for that guest to just shake hands with the very first person they see and completely ignore everybody else, right? That guest absolutely must greet every single person inside the house. Moving right along to section 2, the golden rule. Let's go ahead and translate that party scenario directly into our official math rule. We have the letter A just sitting outside the bracket, which contains B plus C. Our generous guest, A, walks right through the door and multiplies with B, giving us AB. But A doesn't stop there. A walks over and multiplies with C too, giving us AC. The whole takeaway here is that A is a generous distributor. It makes sure every single term inside gets multiplied. Oh, and keep in mind, this works the exact same way if the A happens to be on the right side of the bracket too.
Which brings us to section 3, the 4 steps.
Now, understanding the rule is one thing, but applying it flawlessly every single time is another. So here is your ultimate foolproof checklist for expanding those brackets. Step 1, identify the outside factor. You want to look for the number or variable stuck right on the outside. And hey, quick reminder, if there's no plus or minus sign between the number and the bracket, it automatically means multiplication. Step 2, multiply that outside factor by the first term inside. Step 3, multiply the outside factor by the second term, but pay really close attention to your positive and negative signs here. And finally, step 4, simplify and combine any like terms if you need to. Okay, section 4, practice examples. It's time to hit the training ground. Let's start things off with example 1, basic distribution. We've got a positive 4 sitting right outside our bracket house, and inside we have the terms 3x and positive 5. Just following our 4-step blueprint, we first identify the 4 as our outside factor. Then, our very next move is to multiply that 4 by our first term, the 3x. And here's what that looks like as a solution. 12x plus 20. Let's quickly retrace how we got there. Our generous guest, the 4, shook hands with the 3x, which gave us 4 times 3x, or 12x. Then, that same 4 walked over and shook hands with the positive 5. 4 times 5 is positive 20. Now, since we can't combine an x term with just a regular number, 12x plus 20 is our perfectly simplified final answer. Beautifully done. All right, I need you to prepare yourselves for a second because we're about to enter what I like to call the danger zone. Example 2 features a negative 2 outside the bracket. So we have negative 2 times the quantity 5x minus 3. Let me tell you, this is where so many students end up losing easy points on test day. When that outside number carries a negative sign, you have to remember that it takes that negative sign with it everywhere it goes inside the house. Let's check out the solution, negative 10x plus 6. Let's break down exactly how this happened, step by step. First up, the negative 2 multiplies with a positive 5x. We know a negative times a positive is a negative, so that gets us negative 10x. But look really closely at the second part. That negative 2 multiplies with a negative 3. This brilliantly illustrates the golden rule of signs. A negative times a negative always yields a positive.
So, -2 times -3 magically becomes a +6. Seriously, never forget to flip that sign when a negative guest enters the house.
Okay, feeling good? Let's level up. Example 3 is an advanced distribution problem. 3 times the quantity x plus 2 plus 5x minus 4. Now, I know this problem is basically trying to overwhelm you by throwing those extra terms at the end. But don't panic. Just stay focused on the bracket house first. We have a 3 outside and an x plus 2 hanging out inside. Before we even think about doing anything else, we have to safely open the bracket house. We distribute the 3 to the x, getting 3x. Then we distribute the 3 to the 2, which gives us +6. Now that the bracket is open, we can just drop down the rest of the equation that was waiting patiently on the outside, the plus 5x and the minus 4. So our expanded middle step is 3x plus 6 plus 5x minus 4. The brackets are officially gone, but we aren't quite finished yet. We still need to complete step 4 of our blueprint, which is to simplify and combine our like terms. We'll group our x family together first. 3x plus 5x gives us 8x. Then we group our regular numbers together. +6 minus 4 gives us +2. Put it all together, and our final super clean solution is 8x plus 2. Hey, if you followed along with that, you are officially doing advanced algebraic distribution. Now for our final stop, section 5, common traps. We've definitely built up your skills today, but before I let you go, we really need to navigate an algebraic minefield. The test makers out there know exactly where you're most likely to slip up. Take a look at the wrong way to solve this. It shows A multiplying by B to get AB, but then it just drops the C down without multiplying it at all. This is that classic error we talked about at the very beginning of the explainer. The C was completely ignored. The right way, both mathematically and, politely, ensures A is distributed to both B and C to get AB plus AC.
So, just to summarize our 2 major pitfalls here. Trap 1 is forgetting the second term entirely. Just remember the house party metaphor. The guests literally must greet absolutely everyone inside. Trap 2 is the negative sign trap. When that outside number is negative, you've got to be hyper-vigilant. A negative times a positive is negative, sure, but a negative times a negative is always positive. If you can just keep those 2 traps in your mind, you're going to navigate your exams with 0 stress.
Which brings us to one final thought-provoking question to leave you with today. We've been distributing an outside number to 2 terms inside a bracket, right? But what if you encountered a massive bracket house with 3 or even 4 terms inside? Well, based on everything we learned today, that generous guest still has to greet everyone, no matter how crowded the house gets. The distributive property literally scales up infinitely. I highly encourage you to test out your new superpower on some larger polynomials. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep practicing that math.